Man cannot search out God to perfection, to quote the scriptures. So in one area of human thinking, our minds are desperately messed up. And we will go anywhere and everywhere in our thinking, in our unregenerate state, and we won't end up at the foot of the cross. The cross, to those who are perishing, is nonsense. So you see, that's the problem we have in our Christian witness. People that we talk to, highly intelligent, socially sophisticated, intellectually stimulating. Historically, they may know all kinds of things. In the biological sciences, they may be right up to date. In physics, mathematics, whatever area of investigation you want to consider, they may be right on top of their game. But when it comes to spiritual reality, they're dead. And the paradox that we have as Christians, forget about Enrico Fermi's paradox that he postulated in 1950. The paradox that we have as Christians is that we are to talk to the unregenerate as though they were regenerate. We're to talk to the deaf as though they could hear. We're to talk to the blind as though they could see. We're to talk to the spiritual corpse as though it was alive. That's our problem as Christians. We just can't penetrate their minds with spiritual truth regardless of how we do it. But we must do it simply because Jesus tells us, go into all the world, preach the gospel to every creature. Now, the truth that we have up our sleeve, if you'll pardon the gambling analogy, the truth that we have behind us when we talk to the spiritual corpse is that God resurrects the dead. And just as Jesus spoke at the open tomb of Lazarus and told him to come out, we will find occasions when we speak to the spiritually dead and they will come alive. Now that's exciting. That's amazing. Coming out of Louise's home this afternoon, there was some comment about maybe the sound system wouldn't work or something. And one of the people who were there said, well, Gordon, you've got a voice that's loud enough anyway. When I was knee-high to a grasshopper, my mother made a prophetic statement. She said, Gordon, you've got a voice that could wake the dead. That's why she didn't like me playing in her presence, because I was a noisy kid enjoying my play. But she was prophetic. In the economy of God, I have spoken, and the dead have been raised. The pain in my back makes my emotions come to the surface. It's hard to say this. Some of my spiritual children are already in heaven enjoying what I told them about here. They're ahead of me, but they're waiting. This is the hope we have in witnessing. We must recognize what we're dealing with. That we're dealing with people who can be rational in every area of life. But when it comes to what we want to talk to them about, they're irrational. They talk silly. They talk in a confused fashion. And they just don't get it. I don't know what your testimony is of your conversion experience. But I remember going every Sunday at 10 a.m. to the Salvation Army Hall, then for a meeting at 11, then for a meeting at 3, then for a meeting at 7 at night. I was taken there before I could read, write, talk, think. I was taken there as a newborn infant by my faithful mother. And Jesus was preached, and the conclusion of every service at 11 o'clock, started at 11, we wouldn't get over till 12:30, quarter to 1, because they had an invitation that would be 40 minutes long, and you sing the last hymn of the hymn 3 or 4 times and so on. They pled with people to come to the penitent form, as they called it, at the front, get down on their knees and confess that they were sinners in need of a Savior. So I'd heard the gospel from before I could think. But one day when I was 19, it was as though I heard it for the first time. It just all came together. I had gone to the church. I was tricked into going. I was dressed to go to a dance, and some Baptist friends of my parents were dropping their kids off for babysitting while they went to an evangelistic meeting in their Baptist church. They saw me dressed going to the dance and said, "Gordon, where are you going? You're all dressed up." I wasn't going to tell Baptists I was going to a dance because Baptists don't believe in dancing. And so I would just get in for a hullabaloo, and I would embarrass my parents in front of their Baptist friends because their son was off to a dance. So I lied and said, "I'm not going anywhere." "Well, you're all dressed up, nowhere to go. Come on with us." So I got taken in by my own perfidy. So off we went. And you know, I was cursing myself for being so stupid all the way in the car to that church. The only people that go to church are people who don't know how to think. People that are stupid are people that are old and got a foot in the grave, and women and children, and, you know, young men 19 years old who can think in a straight line doesn't need church. I came home with my tail between my legs. I was beaten up. I was so upset with what I heard. I'd heard it before for 19 years. But my eyes were open. Like Lydia, the seller of purple, whose heart the Lord opened that she attended unto the things spoken by the apostles, God opened my heart. And suddenly it made sense. You see, this is what you must patiently wait for in your witnessing. You can try to demonstrate to people that God has made the world in a certain way, and there's a right way and a wrong way to do everything. I mean, when I went in for my second last cancer surgery, I've had 6 so far. I went in for my second last one, and they parked me on the gurney outside the operating theater while the crew went in and sanitized it from the last operation. And there were about 5 or 6 people who were going to be in there with me during my surgery. And the first person comes up and takes my chart and says, "You're Gordon Rumford?" "Yes." "Do you know why you're here?" "Yes." "Right partial gastrectomy." "Okay." Put the chart back down, they go in. About the 3rd or 4th person that came along and said exactly the same thing, asking me the same questions, if I was here for thus and so, I ended up saying to the person, "I'm here for a hysterectomy." You just get fed up with it, you know. But they want to be right. They want to operate on the proper cancer site, you see. So they're checking and checking and checking to make sure that they, sorry, sometimes my humor gets away on me. I apologize. But, I mean, you know, life's short. You got to make a laugh of it. It was serious enough, I know. Problem was, you didn't get it all. You had to go back in 2 weeks' time and get some more. That time it worked. But someone will come along and say, "Well, what about the Mormons? What about the Quran and the Muslim faith?" You know, we can gently try again and again. We're dealing with the spiritually dead, but still, I think that we should offer back to people reasons for the hope that we have in us in an intelligent manner. And I would suggest that when we talk about the Quran versus the Bible, or Mary Baker Eddy's book, I forget what she calls it now in Christian Science, but anyhow, you can talk about how prophecy in the Bible has been fulfilled in the first coming of Jesus. And have in your memory banks at least 10 or 15 prophecies that were fulfilled when Jesus came the first time.